All right, so we're going to get to another wacky chapter, and we're going to go through the story. But actually, first, I wanted to just make a bit of a trend. Today is Rabbi Sax's yahrzeit, so I thought it'd be appropriate we should just share a word from Rabbi Sachs. And it's hard to believe it's 5 years already. And boy, we could have used Rabbi Sachs the last couple of years. Oh boy, if anybody could have sort of taken us through. So I just quickly pulled up his piece on Chai Sarah. If you look at the Rabbi Sachs website, it's phenomenal. There's just so much material there. And one of the great resources, I have a friend, Rabbi Johnny Solomon, who is a Talmud and he lives in Israel and does. So he compiled actually a list of quotes and categorized them by topic. So like if you ever have to write a journal ad or something like that, it's phenomenal. Really, really such a great resource. I'm giving you the secrets here. Okay, you want to be like, especially when it comes to journal ads, that people are still doing journals, or a yearbook quote, or something like that. But a nice card, a nice sentiment. It's really quite. It's rabbisachs.org, I believe. But just look Rabbi Sachs with Google, and it comes up. Okay, so this is Chai Sarah this week. Chai Sarah, and he says that there's a lengthy conversation both about the death of Sarah and then, of course, the marrying of Yitzchak. And it says, Avram, the first bearer of the covenant, receives two promises, both stated 5 times. First is land, and the second is children. So he just writes, he says, these are remarkable promises. The land and its length and breadth will be Avraham's and his children's as an everlasting possession. Abram will have as many children as the dust of the earth, the stars, the sky, the sand, and the seashore. He'll be the father, not of one nation, but I'm just opening the door. There you go. I got to wait for the click. But of many. But what's this reality by the time that Sarah Imenu dies in the beginning of the Parsha? He owns no land. He has only one son. He has another son, Yishmael, but he's told that, he's out. He's not in the plan. So what of this? So the significance of the two episodes is now clear. First, Abraham undergoes a lengthy bargaining process with the Hittites. Don't bargain with the Hittites. They're always trying to get you to buy the field, of course. And then they say one thing, mean another. It's fine. As the narrative makes clear, the elaborate generosity is a facade for some extremely hard bargaining. Abraham knows it says, Ger v'soshev anochi imachem, I'm an alien and a stranger among you, meaning, among other things, that he has no right to own land. That's the force of the reply, which, stripped of its overlay of courtesy, means use one of our burial sites. You may not acquire your own. Avram is not deterred. He insists that he wants to buy his own. His reply is, it's yours, I give it to you. Is in fact a prelude to a demand for an inflated price, 400 silver shekels, which the experts, they calculate the amount. It's a lot of money. The average person made something like 8 silver shekels a year, and he paid 400 silver shekels for this. Okay. So finally, he owns the land. And the final transfer of ownership is recorded in precise legal prose in our psukim that he finally owns part of the land. It's a small part, one field and a cave, a burial place, bought at great expense. But this is the entirety of the divine promise of the land that Avram will see in his lifetime. That's it. So the next, of course, we have the whole thing about Yitzchak and Rivka. And it goes on and on and on. The story is actually told 3 times. When it happens, the relating of the story in the third. So it's the longest uninterrupted chapter of narrative. Actually, we have. It's like one very, very long chapter. So it's really, really fascinating. So these then, Rabbi Sachs writes, are no minor episodes. Wow, we have such a hush of a guest. Ruth Hutter is joining us. Wow, unbelievable. How are you, Ruth? Nice to see you.
I'm good. I've been having trouble. I had to call Alicia to get on.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You look great. Wonderful. Thank you. So pleasure to have you. Before we do our regular text, I'm just doing, because today is Rabbi Sachs's yahrzeit, so I'm just sharing a little piece from Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. I wonder what that's like to be called Lord. Like for a Jewish guy to be called Lord. I'm just
Call you that.
You can call me that. So I'll let me finish this. I'm going to tell you a very, very funny story, which I am prone to do at times. So these are no minor episodes. They tell a difficult story. Yes, Avram will have land. He'll have countless children, but they will not happen soon or suddenly or easily. Nor will they occur without human effort. To the contrary, only the most focused willpower will bring them about. The divine promise is not what it first seems, a statement that God will act. It's in fact a request, an invitation from God to Avram and his children that they should act. God will help them. The outcome will be what God said it would, but not without total commitment from Abraham's family against what will sometimes be insuperable obstacles. That's a word we don't see a lot also, insuperable. A land, Israel, and children, Jewish continuity. The astonishing fact that is today, 4,000 years later, they remain the dominant concerns of Jews throughout the world. The safety and security of Israel as the Jewish home and the future of the Jewish people. Abraham's hopes and fears are ours. Is there any other people, I wonder, whose concerns today are what they were 4 millennia ago? The identity through time is awe-inspiring. Now as then, the divine promise does not mean that we can leave the future to God. That idea has no place in the imaginative world of the first book of the Torah. To the contrary, the covenant is God's challenge to us, not ours to God. The meaning of the events of Chayei is that Abraham realized that Hashem was depending on him. Faith doesn't mean passivity, it means the courage to act and never be deterred. The future will happen, but it is we, inspired, empowered, given strength by the promise, who must bring it about. I mean, it's just your prototypical awesome Rabbi Sachs, just putting it in such a clear, pristine way, like, yeah, that's right. That's right. You know what? And especially after the last couple of years, we're like, oh yeah, we think it'll all work out. Yes, but we have to do stuff to make sure that we get to that point where things will work out. Shtadlus, correct. Absolutely. Shtadlus. So I was once officiating a wedding, and the girl's family were like a shtickle feminist. When I say shtickle feminist, the mom was like the head of Jofa and like the whole bit. So she was like very feminist, and she wanted to know, can I do like a bracha under the chuppah? Blah, blah, blah. So I work with them. I was creative. So the rabbi of the shul, it actually was my rabbi of the shul growing up, and he said to me, he's like, thank God it's you and not me. Like, and I was like, I mean, I was more equipped to handle it. Let's put it that way. So they asked one of the things, and I said, look, when it comes to weddings, there are certain things that has to be this way, and certain things we can be creative. Okay, fine. So they asked me, can I have a girl be the MC? Like, can a girl call up the honors? I said, yeah, sure. Okay, no problem. Fine, I can live with that. People don't like it, I don't care. And it's fine. So the bride has a friend, and she's like a nervous hilaria because she has to go up and she has to announce all these honors. So it's sort of like, careful what you ask for because you might get it. And I walk in and I see her, she's like fumbling with papers and this and that. I knew right away who she was. So me being me, I said, oh, by the way, you should know that the Masada Kedushin was just anointed and like he's a lord now from the Queen of England. Then there was a queen. And I said, you have to be called up Rabbi Lord or Lord Rabbi Samuel Klebanoff. And she's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. She starts scribbling it down. Thank you so much. And then she goes, what's your name? I said, I'm Samuel Klebanoff. And then she understood that I was kidding with her and like, yeah. But had I not said that, she probably would have called me up as the Lord. But okay. All right. Now let's go to chapter 15. We are in chapter 15 of Judges. And this does not involve the Lord as much as Rabbi Sachs did, but it doesn't. Everything involves the Lord. So we saw last week Samson. He marries this girl that he likes, but again, all this is part of. We say it's a divine plan. It's a ruse that he's trying to find a way to get to the Philistines. And one of the key notes that the Mefarshim point out is that the whole time he's trying to get at them without directly implicating the Jewish people. Because often, let's say we're going to take a strong stance on something, they're going to take revenge, they're going to take it out on the people. So he's trying to make sure that it's taken out on other people or on him directly, but not on the Jewish people. They suffered enough because the Philistines are lording over them. So here, beginning in chapter 15, again, we're going to read through 15. Next time we'll do 16. Then we have to kind of go back over all this and figure like, what the heck is going on? Like, who is this Shimshon character? And Samson. We haven't even gotten to Delilah yet. That's next week. That's next chapter. Now we have the story. So remember, he married the girl, and then he had the whole thing, and he kills the people because of the honey and the riddle. She betrayed him because she appealed to his senses. She nagged him and nagged him and nagged him. Finally, gave up the secret, and he lost the bet. The whole thing. Okay, fine. And then her father gives her to someone else she's an adulteress, and he's not too thrilled about it. So what do you do in that situation? Well, we read chapter 15. That's what we do in that situation. Okay. Vayhi miyamim b'mei k'tzir chitim, vayifkod Shimshon es ishto b'gdei izim, bigdi izim, vayomer avoa el ishti hachadra, velo nisano avilavo. Sometimes later the days of the harvest. B'mei k'tzir chitim. That's how, by the way, how the story of Ruth starts. Ruth. B'mei k'tzir chitim. Appropriate because we have Ruth is with us on the shiur today. The day of the harvest. Now it has to do, you'll see with the story later on in terms of the dryness of the land and what that does or doesn't allow. So Shimshon, Vayivkud Shimshon. So remember we have that in Rosh Hashanah. We actually just had it in last week's parasha. Hashem pakad et Sarah. Hashem remembers. Hashem does not forget those who beseech him. So Shimshon remembers his wife. It's like, I remember, it's remembered her begedi izim. He remembers with a goat kid. Meaning, like, I gotta send some sort of offering. Right? What do you do first when if you're distance, if there's an issue, if there's a chasm in the relationship, right? You send flowers, you write a card, you send a gift, right? I always say that I told you what shalom bayit is, right? If you want shalom, buy it. I tell all the husbands that. If only they would listen. So, but also notice that Vayivkod Shimshon es ishto refers as ishto, his wife, not that girl. Whereas when he left in anger, and Eshes Shimshon is now to someone else. She's married to someone else, adulterizing with someone else. I know that's not a word, but he wants to go, and he says, I want to go to my wife, El Ishti Hachedra. I want to go be with her, but her father didn't let.
Is there any, I mean, it doesn't say here, any, commentary like how long they think this is since he saw her?
I don't know. No, we don't know. But it seems to be a decent amount of time, and enough that, but they do point out that this is part of his calculation, is that he's trying to find a premise, and he actually says as much, as we'll see in the coming psukim, he says as much that he wants to have a premise by which he can then take revenge and not be held like, he can't blame his wife for the last time. He doesn't know for sure that she's the one that betrayed him with the whole riddle thing, even though we, the reader, know that. He can't be certain. He's pretty sure, but he has no proof of it. Now he's going to do something that's sort of like without question. So
That film says it may also mean after a year.
yeah,
They're not sure.
right. Whenever they say Vayhi, it's always after a bit of time. Okay. So Vayomer Aviha Amor Amarti Kasano Sanesa V'Nenel Marecha Halo Chos Haktana Tova Mimena Tihino Lecha Tachteha. So this is like, I mean, I can't exactly. I was hoping you would say that. So, yeah. So her father said, "I thought that you would surely hate her. I mean, after all, she kind of messed up, and then I gave her over to your companion, and I gave her to another guy. I didn't think you'd really be interested in kind of getting back with her, but I have an idea. Ich habe a kleine Tochter, right? I have a younger daughter. She has a younger sister. She's even better. Take her instead." Now, as Shelley appropriately pointed out, is that in the story of Lot, which we just read in this week's parsha, which is the one they skip over that one in school. I mean, again, I'll say it a million times, but the stuff in the Chumash is soap operas got nothing on us. Nothing. It wouldn't even be a rating in the MPAA ratings. The angels come to Sodom. Lot, a perplexing hero. I love that. Okay. And they start banging on the doors because he's hosting the angels. Because that's the worst thing you could do, is to host people. Sodom, they were, really, really bad people. And they start banging on the door, and they said, "Where are those people that came? Bring them out here, and we will get to know them." By the way, get to know them is very biblical here, is what they mean, because they were sodomites, and sodomites do what sodomites do. Lot goes out, and he closes the door behind him. By the way, we're going to see this again when we get to chapter 19. The comparison between this and Pelegesh Begiva is just outstanding. We're going to actually look at this side by side. It's phenomenal, the comparison. And he says, "Vayomar alno achai tareu." He's like, "Don't do this. Please don't do this evil thing." He looks very very noble here. First of all, he brought in guests. Second of all, they wanted to harm the guests, and Lot says, please don't do this terrible thing. It would be great if we stopped the story right there. He says, I'll tell you what, I have 2 daughters. They've never been with anybody before. Take them instead, but just don't touch these guys. Yeah, and you're like, that's why on the side it says Lot, a perplexing hero. He's quite perplexing. And they said, get back. But that exactly reminds you of the, yeah, I didn't think you'd be happy with that. Let's try plan B. So the father says, I'll give you my other daughter. Okay. Shimshon has other ideas. Now he says, this time I'm going to be blameless from the Plishtim when I do evil to them. Because now they took his wife away. They married her off to someone else while she's still married to me, which is not really, how would you say, allowed. And now I'm well within my rights to do what I want. So how would you take revenge? Well, this is the natural way, if you're a Samson Nazarite, that you would take revenge. You find yourself 300 foxes, and you tie them together by the tails, 2 by 2. You put torches between the tails. You let them run wild, which is why it's important to say "Vayhi b'mei ktsir chitim" when the harvest is dry and whatever. And then you burn everything down and you kill a bunch of people. That's what I would do. I don't know about you. That's what I would do. I see that Nebuch fox walking around my backyard all the time. I always think of this, thinking like, I'm not scared of the foxes because they're not really, but they're just like, they're sly like a fox. You always see them like skulking around, sneaking around. And they have these big floppy tails. The one we have here is like Nebuch. Is like already, I could see it's been hurt a few times and it's all scratched up and Nebuch for the fox. But to take them and like tie it up, so look what he does. You can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you. Vayelech Shimshon vayilkod 300 shualim. Vayikach lapidim vayifen zanav el zanav vayasam lapid echad bein shnei hazanavos batavach. So he catches 300 foxes. How do you even where do you find 300 foxes? You don't even find that in a zoo, right? He took torches and he turned the foxes and he tied them up tail to tail. He puts 1 torch between each pair of tails in the middle. And then, vayaver eish balapidim vayishalach bekamos plishtim vayaver migadish ad kamav ad kerem zayis. He sets fire to the torches. He sends them off to the grain fields of the Plishtim. He burns down everything from the grain sacks to the scanning grain to the olive groves. Ecological terrorism. That's the way you get them, because this is an agricultural society, and that's how you get them. And by the way, you do so with the foxes. Why do they tie them up? Because when they're tied up, they don't walk as fast. They're pulling each other direction, but it'll cause more damage that way. Why the foxes? Base nicht. I don't. I think it's maybe just a sign of strength, and it's just sort of like a real, like pachin panim. I didn't just go and like fire it to your fields. I took the foxes and I had them do it for me. Okay.
No, we don't take midrash literally. We take this literally.
I don't know. No, I'm not sure. Again, some stuff. It's a good question. That's an excellent question. Do we take this literally? Some yes, and some maybe not so much. But then you run into a lot of
affinity for foxes.
I don't know.
He didn't tie them together. They would have come after him. They had to be pulling in both directions, no?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Foxes aren't predatory necessarily. They just like to sneak around. I don't know. I just, like I said, when I see it in the backyard, I just go swipe or no swiping. But your question is very important because let's take a classic example of this question is Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the sea.
Well, we learned last week we got reviving a dead person.
Reviving a dead person in the Haftorah. Or this week, she's rolling off the stone, off the well, and of course, Rivka's 3 years old. She's 3. So does it really happen? Now, if you say it didn't happen and it's allegorical, then you run into a lot of questions, a lot of issues, which is why you have these biblical critics and you have modern not Jewish, but just modern thinking about how to read the Bible. Is it authorship of the Bible? All these types of things that come up. I don't know. I don't. It doesn't bother me that much that it keeps me up at night. Like I can live with it. I can live with the doubt. But certainly as a way to understand this. So, and also whether it happened or not, it doesn't really matter. We know that the result, and the result, that's what's important. But Kriyas Yamsuf, that's a little bit more weighty because we talk about that constantly. It's in davening 8 million times all the time. We're talking about the Exodus, and we're talking about
But there's some
this.
traditional that say, well, there were wind and they went sideways. And
Yeah, they go, and then of course you can ask
it's not
Dr.
to be so ugly,
Ask
but
Justin, he'll tell you that there was a meteor, and then there was this, and there was that. People have a hard time, especially people who are science minded, have a very hard time with anything supernatural or out of the ordinary, anything that science cannot explain. Okay.
But there are speakers, very Orthodox who do that, and it's actually really.
Oh,
interesting.
yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah. Schrader?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gerald Schrader.
Sure.
Yeah. I wasn't here for that, but I know about it. He wrote a book. He wrote a book about it, a couple books. Anyway, so they destroy everything. Oh, by the way, so the word Beit Shnei Hazanovos Batavech, they put each pairs in the middle. Batavech also we just saw in the parsha in chapter 15 when the bris bein habesarim, the covenant between the halves, it says Vayasem Batavech, the same word that he cut the pieces in half. Okay. Vayomer Plishtim mi asazos. The Plishtim said, "Who did this? Who could have possibly tied 300 foxes together and lit them on fire and burnt down everything? Who could have done this?" Vayomru Shimshon Chasan Hatimni ki lakachas ishto vayitnam al-merehu vayala Plishtim vayistifo savesavia ba'esh. So a lot of fire going on here. They said, "Oh yeah, it was the son-in-law, Shimshon. The one who married the Timnite girl, the one that the father gave her to someone else while she was still married to him, right? So he got a little upset." And he kind of took it out on us and he burned everything down that we have. So what's the natural response to that?
We'll do the same to do that.
Correct. We burned them. So the Plishtims then they went and they burned her and her father in the fire. I mean, this is the kind of place that they live. I mean, when you live in Plishtim land, this is how you behave. Not a lot has changed, unfortunately, in that neck of the woods. What can I tell you? Vayomer lahem Shimshon, im ta'asun kazos, he says, now you're getting upset about her behavior? If only you had done that before, then none of this would have happened, right? He says, now I will avenge myself against you because you didn't do anything to begin with. And only all of a sudden now you're from. It really is snowing outside. And I'm not going to finish till I'm done. Okay. Shimshon's got a bit of a determination factor, maybe a bit of a temper, I don't know. Vayach osam shok al yarech makah gedola vayir ve'yeshev b'sif sela itam. He struck them calf upon thigh, a great blow. Then he descended and dwelt in the cleft of the rock of Etam. When they say shok al yeresh, this refers to Rashi and all the Mefarshim say it's rochev sus. That they don't when you support your weight, you support it on the calf, on your calf, as opposed to your legs. And a footman, somebody who's a foot soldier who's not a rider, has to be on his feet. So that's what it says. He struck them calf on thigh, a great blow. And he he killed a lot of people. It's a weird way of saying it, but he killed a lot of but more seems like they're militant types. They're soldiers that he took out a lot of them. Okay. Vayalu Plishtim ve'achanu bihuda ve'inatashu balachi. So then the Plishtim went up for war. Went up means that they want to do. Now they're upset. Now they have to get the Shimshon guy, and they want to go up for war. And then camped in Yehuda, spreading out at Lechi. Lechi, what is Lechi? Lechi is a jawbone. That's the name of the place, and we'll see why it's called that. But not to be confused, by the way, with the freedom fighting organization of the 1940s, which, you know what that stands for? It was originally called the Stern Gang, because the guy who founded it was Stern. By the way, Yitzchak Shamir was a member of Lechi. Then you had the Lechi, you had Etzel, you had Haganah, they all worked together, and then they became ultimately IDF. Lochmei Cherut Yisrael. Lochmei Cherut Yisrael. Yeah. But no relation. Although it's a good fighting story, so maybe. Who knows? Vayomru ish Yehuda lama alisem aleinu. Vayomru le'asar Shimshon alinu La'asos lo kasher asalenu. So they come, so they're confronted by the people of Yehuda because they went up to the Yehuda. Again, what's Yehuda? Yehuda is like, the desert, the Negev, Yerushalayim, like that towards Yerushalayim. That's all the area of Yehuda. Hebron Hills, Gush, that's all part of Yehuda. And they said, why did you come up? Now, because also it's just important to know the geography and the topography is that if they're coming from the coastal cities, let's say going from Gaza to Jerusalem, it's up. Jerusalem is much higher in elevation. As a matter of fact, the Gemara now in the Daf Yomi discusses how they chose that area for the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan is one of the highest mountains, etc. But Jerusalem's high, so that's why in the winter, Jerusalem is significantly colder. Jerusalem and the Gush and Beit Shemesh are colder than other places, and if it snows, they get snow first. If other places may not get it at all because of the elevation change, because it's much higher, so it gets colder, windier, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as opposed to, let's say, Tel Aviv. You would notice, even this time of year, if you would travel from Jerusalem in the evening to Tel Aviv in the evening, you'll see a very big difference. And Tel Aviv gets more humid. In the summer, even, Jerusalem gets a little bit cool at night, like it's breezy, has to do with the elevation. It's actually pleasant. In the winter, it's not so pleasant. Tel Aviv is sticky. Jerusalem doesn't necessarily get like that, kind of like ocean sticky like that. When they built the high-speed rail from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv, the train, as fast as it goes to get to, have you taken it? Have you taken it from the airport to Jerusalem? Oh, it's amazing. It's
Fabulous.
unbelievable. From Yitzchak Navon station to Ben Gurion Airport, it's like 18 minutes. So I got to be when they were building it, I got to go with the main engineer and see the tunnels and everything. I have great pictures of it. First of all, it's three of the steepest escalators in the Middle East. I think there's only one steeper escalator, and each one is like 80 meters or something like that, whatever it is. And the way they had to design it, but they said the train, as fast as it goes, doesn't even reach its peak speed because of the elevation, because it has to constantly go up the grade from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, especially the last part, it's up and it goes through like 7 tunnels and they have to go. And then we learned about all the ecology that had to be displaced and replaced and the security measures. And wow, it's fascinating. And they keep doing it. Like, it's like a real country now with trains. But like to be able, the only annoying thing is if you have like a proper suitcase, it's very hard to go on the train. A carry-on you could pull off, but like there's no room to put stuff on the train. You could find 18 minyanim on a train, but you can't like put your suitcase anywhere.
Between the seats on the ground.
Between the back ones, I know, but it's like not convenient. It's rough, but it's fun. It's convenient. I like it. And then the Yitzchak Nevon station now, then when you come, and by the way, they're going to continue, even in Yerushalayim, they're continuing the train to go even a couple steps further. We'll actually, sorry, you're going to miss it, but when we discuss Tachana Rishona next week, we'll get into that also a little bit. Anyway. So that's why did you come up? The people of Yehuda said, why'd you come up here? Like, and we understand that you're in charge here, but like, what we don't have a fight with you. Why are you coming to fight with us? And they said, well, we came to capture Shimshon because we need to do to him what he did to us. Okay. Vayerdu shloshes alafim ish mihuda el sif sel etam vayomer l'Shimshon halo yadata kim al shimbon plishtim mazos asis lanu vayomer lehem kasher asuli kain asisi lehem. So the people know who they're dealing with. The Shimshon, they know that the Shimshon is no, we're not sending the auxiliary police to go pick this guy up. They sent 3,000 guys to go take him. They went down to the cleft of the rock of Etam and they said, the Plishtim are in charge. You know that they rule over us, okay? Why are you messing with them? What is this that you've done to us? He's like, they did it to me. I did it to them. Right? It's like that scene in when Robert De Niro is playing Al Capone in The Untouchables. Somebody's going to do it to me. I'm going to do it to them. It's a great role because he put on a lot of weight for that role to play Al Capone. Also, when he did Raging Bull, he put on a lot of weight. Now he's just a whatever. But it was a great acting performance. So, Vayamru lo l'asar chayaradnu l'sitcha biad plishtim. Vayomer lehem Shimshon hishavuli pentifkum biatem. So he's like, we don't want any trouble here. We're not trying to hurt you. We merely have come to apprehend you so that we can arrest you and give you over to the hands of the Plishtim. And he says, just promise me that you're not going to hurt me. Now, this is interesting for a lot of reasons. Because we should know, like, already you should be thinking, like, wait a minute, is there a thing like that we're not supposed to give over? You know what that's called?
Did it.
You still do, you just don't realize you do. It's something called being a moser. A moser or a moser. Like, one of the grievous sort of things that a sin that a Jew could do against another Jew is to be a moser, is to give someone over to get them in trouble. I'm not saying you have to, no, doesn't mean that we have to accept people doing things wrong. It doesn't mean we have to, but without justification. So here it seems to be exactly what like we're giving you over to them. Now, Chazal, they argue this point, they debate it, and they say that there are a couple of exceptions. Let's say someone is subject to the death penalty or is really in trouble and it's going to cause harm to the rest of the community, then yeah, you have to give the person over. Which is exactly what's going on here and he did kill a lot of people, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you have to do that. So, but it is a conversation that one has. And, we had, of course, if you ask people from the Shoah, the worst, the kapos, those were the worst of the worst. Do you save your own hide by giving other, and that's very, very challenging, very difficult chapter for people to comprehend. So, anyway, that's just something to think about here, which the Mefarshim do point out on these psukim. But he's like, don't hurt me, as if they could. Vayomru lo lemor lo ki asar ne'asarchu nesanuch b'yadam v'hameith lo nemisecha ve'asru b'shnaim avosim chadashim ve'aluhu min asala. So they like, no, we don't want to hurt you. We just want to arrest you and give you over to their hands. We will not put you to death. So they tied him up with 2 new ropes and they brought him up for the rock. It's important to say that it's 2 new ropes because ropes are a very brilliant invention if you think about it. The concept of ropes and twine and intertwining things and making stronger ropes. If you remember when I think it was Jerry Miller. When Jerry Miller got married, he got married at this place in Patterson. You remember that place?
Mhm.
And I just was asking about the building because, you never know when you have to switch into tour guide mode. And that building was used to manufacture ropes,
Really?
like ship ropes. And that's why it had a very long hallways because they needed, obviously, when you're making long ropes, they needed room that they could, right? Fascinating, right? And then it was near water over there. And they would take it to the water. Anyway, so that's ropes. So they had new ropes. It's not like a new rope. Like when ropes over time they fray and they get all every year when you're putting up the stuff in the sukkah, and you tell yourself, oh, this is the last year it's gonna work. Next year I got to get new this. Next year, and you always forget, by the way, until you take it out the next year, unless you actually remember. And the decorations, whatever was holding them, I find it to be very nostalgic when I put out the sukkah decorations because. It's like, oh, this is when my kid was getting married, was in 1st grade. Like I still have that and I put that up and it's a big deal. So they put on these new ropes. Hupa adlechi uplishtim heriu likraso vatitzlach lavruch Hashem vatiena havosim asher al zrosov kapishtim asher bor ba'ish vayimasu asrav me'al yadav. So he came to Lechi and the Plishtim are shouting at him. Like you can imagine, there's like big prisoner exchange going on. They meet at the DMZ line and they hand them over. But this is important because again, just to show you that no matter what's happening, the spirit of Hashem. So it's divinely inspired or divinely approved, certainly, that the spirit of Hashem comes over him. And the ropes that were on his arms, they're like flax that had been singed with fire and they melted. The bone, they melted from his hands. Right? It's like nothing. It's like, somebody try to tie your hands up with a simple rubber band. Like that. Okay? Vayimtza lechich kamor tiriya, vayishlach yado v'yikache vayachba elef ish. So, because the place was called Jawbone, and it's called it's one of those, you said cart before the horse or chicken before the egg. Sometimes the places are named because of what happens, and then we realize sort of retroactively why it was called that. So he finds a fresh jawbone of a donkey. He stretched out his hand and he took it. Now, I wouldn't know a jawbone if you hit me in the jawbone with it. It was a donkey. The point is that Shimshon doesn't need very much to cause mayhem. He finds a jawbone of a donkey, he picks it up, and he kills 1,000 people with it. With a jawbone. He didn't even have a lightsaber. Vayomer Shimshon bilchia chamor chamor chamorotayim bilchia chamor hiketi elaf ish. So he's like, he's become a poet. He's a murderer and he's a poet also. He's like, with the jawbone of a donkey, heap upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey, I've struck down 1,000 men. Take that, Plishtim. But this is part of his whole thing that he wants to save the Jewish people. He knows that this is the purpose of his life is to protect the Jewish nation from the Plishtim, and he's doing it, 1,000 at a time. Vayomer vayhi kechalaso ledaber vayishtei chalachim yado vayikra lamakam ahu ramat lachi. So he finishes speaking. So what do? When you're done with the jawbone, everybody knows when you're done with the jawbone of the donkey, you just throw it down, and then the place is called the Jawbone Hill. Ramat is the height of the elevation of Lechi. Okay, because he said Hamat, heap upon heaps. Maybe it was an elevated place, or maybe because it's elevated with, I don't know. But they call it Ramat Lechi. This is a place that's going to get named. It's going to get renamed very quickly. Vayitzma ma'od vayikra el Hashem vayomar ato nasata biyad avdecha es hatshua gdol hazos va'ata amus batzama v'nafalta biyad harelim. He's like, he calls out to Hashem. He's very thirsty, because I don't know about you, but after I kill 1,000 people, I get very, very thirsty when I run out of Gatorade and all that killing. And he calls out to Hashem, he's like, you've given me great salvation through the hand of your servant, and now shall I die of thirst in front of these Arelim? Again, the same word, Arelim, the uncircumcised. Like, come on, it's pasnished. Ebisha, it's pasnished that in front of these, that I should be thirsty and die of thirst. Like, I just did all this. And also, but the whole idea is, Chua hagadola hazeh, right? It's kind of what we use in Alanisim. Alanisim, vi'ala porkan, vi'ala chuos, vi'ala, right? Hagavuras, vi'ala chuos. We say it in Modim, right? The word Teshua, like, it's a big deal. We take these phrases. Hanukkah's coming. We bench Rosh Chodesh this week, right? Is it this week? Today is, I think we're going to bench Rosh Chodesh this week. We bench Rosh Chodesh already. It's Kislev. You got to get the Hanukkah lists in. I tell my kids that you must, if you have a request for a Hanukkah gift, they must be in by Black Friday. That's the deadline. No, but not good yet. I got to be a good yet. The days of like waiting out, people actually still do that. They wait outside stores and stuff. Like they never heard of the internet. So anyway, see, Ruth, you get all the good tips here. You get shopping tips, you get family advice. It's all wonderful things. So he said, and I'm going to fall behind these. So let's finish the chapter. Vayivka Elokim es hamachtesh asher balechi. So Hashem split open the hollow, the machtesh. When you hear the machtesh, what do you always think of? Machtesh Ramon, right? The Ramon crater, right? They just call it the machtesh. If you've ever been to the Bereshit Hotel or over there, actually, our friends from Kibbutz Erez, when they were displaced after October 7th, they were in the kibbutz right next to Machtesh Ramon. So they were right over there, so we went to go visit them, which was really nice. They do a Pesach program there. It's called Seder in the Crater. It's nice, but it's that hotel. Again, going back to tour guide mode, that hotel has the highest occupancy in Israel of any other hotel. Like almost 100% occupancy always. Like that's how like you have to really. It's really I feel like taking a swim outside of your room with the ibex. Okay. Anyway, so Hashem tears open the machtesh, the hollow that's in the jawbone, and poof, vayetze mimenu mayim. Oh, and water comes out, because I don't know about you. I've never looked inside the jawbone. I didn't know there was water, but obviously this is something that's not ordinary. It is not natural.
Well, earlier in Tepa, the translation is a moist cheekbone.
A moist cheekbone, because yes, because they use the
So
word.
that's where the water came from, the moisture.
Well, yeah, because first of all, the word cheekbone lechi is the same word as lach. Lach means wet, moist. So, okay, and he drinks vatashav rucha vayechi, and he gets his like strength back, and he's like, okay, I'm good, because it's all that killing and running and tying up and fire and all that stuff. It's exhausting. So he needed his strength back. So he drank the cheekbone water. Maybe that could be our new venture. They have smart water, or they have alkaline water. Let's make cheekbone water. Samson, be strong like Samson. Drink cheekbone water from the creators of the donkey jawbones of Israel. We bring you, I don't know.
Like Popeye and his fish.
Yeah, you see, catchy. I think we're onto something. I think tens of people will buy it. And al kain kara shema ein hakori asher b'lechi ad hayam hazeh. And therefore they changed the name yet again, and therefore it's called Ein HaKoreh, the spring of the caller, which is in Lechi, because he calls out to Hashem, and there's a spring, etc. And it's called that until today. I'm sure that somebody will tell you this is the place. I don't know where it is. Vayishpot es Yisrael b'yemei Plishtim 20 shana. And then he judges in Israel in the days of Plishtim now for 20 years. Now again, the judges, this follows the pattern of the judges. Judges not necessarily the most, it's not this most sage person, but it's the most capable person that's capable of leading this this group. So really, really fascinating. So we have then one more chapter after this of Delilah, and then the Shimshon's final story, and then we're going to like bring this all together. But it's great stuff. I mean, this is like some really good, fascinating stories. Again, but 4 chapters now being dedicated to one person, which we haven't seen more than 40 psukim, let alone 4 chapters. So we'll see this, God willing, next time. And when you start your Hanukkah list, because we have to, Kislev is coming, and then you know what that means. It's almost Pesach, so it's really good. And then we get to maybe we can get Delilah live for the Delilah chapter. That would be great if she could be here live. She watches this. She comments like right away. I love it. I love it because it's really just for me, because it makes me feel like, wow, someone's actually watching this. But maybe we can get her live, and we'll have like and we'll see like.
Baby single husband.
I know. Can I know her? Baruch Hashem. Poo, poo, poo. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody.